Welcome to this week's F1 Tech Demo with me, Rosanna Tennant, and Albert Fabrega.
Hi, Rosanna.
Hello, great to see you, and great to see this fabulous power unit. We are talking about the power unit in this episode, and we're going to be talking about how it's going to change in 2026. And later on, we'll be talking about how Formula One is going to be more sustainable in the future. But first, tell me more about this incredible piece of engineering, the power unit. Which year is this one from?
This is 2014 power unit from Mercedes. We have to thank very much them to allow us to touch this.
Yes.
And be close to that fantastic piece of engineering. That was a big step forward on the engine and power units development, where there was an increasing hybrid system that allowed the teams to increase the power up to 1,000 horsepower, but in a more efficient engine. Mercedes, for example, reached to achieve a 50%, more than 50% efficiency on the engine side, on the powers. That's a really amazing achievement on a fantastic piece of engineering that I love it to have the chance to
to actually touch it, actually see it. And of course, Mercedes always used to talk about halfway to impossible. So as you mentioned, achieving that 50% plus efficiency. Now, because we're changing things in Formula One, the power unit is going to change in 2026. So is it going to stay looking like this, or is everything going to change in terms of shape and size and format?
Similar. The target is to keep the performance on the power unit, but increase the efficiency, and do it in an environment more sustainable. So we will keep the battery, of course, we will keep the turbo, we'll keep the V6 engines, we'll keep the MQK, we'll keep the control unit, but there will be elements that will be removed from this package for the 2026 onwards years.
Well, let's take a look at the several components that make up a power unit. And we're going to have a look, because they're on the table over there, to see how they're changing for 2026. Well, Albert, it's amazing what you can fit in your hand luggage these days. You've brought everything to take a look at. Let's start with the engine block. Now, we happily rattle off, it's a 1.6 litre V6 engine. What does that actually mean? What am I looking for?
This is a V6 ICE combustion engine. We call V6 because it's built in a V. We have 3 cylinders on one side, 3 cylinders on the other.
Six.
V6. And 1.6 comes from the sum of the capacity of every single cylinder. This is a little bit bigger. This is not Formula One. This is not from Mercedes. This is from another.
Is this from your workshop?
I cannot reveal where I come from.
Don't reveal your sources.
No. But this is, if we sum the capacity of every single cylinder, we will have 1.6. That in a road car is a very small engine.
And this is staying the same in 2026?
It stays the same, yeah. We will see this V6 1.6 cylinder or ICE in the next power units from 2026. That's not change.
No change there.
No.
I can see a change here.
Yes,
Even
there is a
I,
big
to my
change.
untrained eye, can see there's a change. So what do we have here? And tell
We
me
are
the changes.
on the ERS. We start from the MQK. This is all MQK from the CARES 2008 era.
That's quite
That's
little.
very small,
It's
yeah.
very heavy,
That's-
but it is quite little.
It's an electric motor that provides energy to the car, and it recovers energy. So from the brake, they recover the energy to fill the battery. This is a 60 kilowatts, even 80 kilowatts electric motor. We are currently on 120, and for 2026 we go to a massive, bigger MQK, 3 times bigger than what we have now.
And the reason for that?
We have more recovery, so we increase the efficiency of the engine, and we have more power coming from the electrical side. So we go to MQK of 375 kilowatts. That's almost 500 horsepower.
And it's still
from
quite
this
heavy.
piece. It's heavy. There's electrical components inside, but obviously, imagine if you can have 500 horsepower from this little piece. It's even it's heavy. It's a very little piece of engine.
Useful bit of kit coming soon in 2026.
Increasing the power there.
Increasing the power, but keeping efficiency and improving efficiency. Then we go here, and I'm noticing it going bigger to smaller. What's happening?
This is an MQH. We talk about it in Miami. This was linked to the turbo, and this will be removed in Formula One from 2026. This is the turbo.
So in effect,
Compressor
what
and
we've done
turbine,
here,
the
trying
exhaust.
to find my way to
Yep,
there
let's
we are. You
lift
might
it.
pick it up.
There
We've
it is.
essentially just like pulled the MGUH out,
Yep.
pushed the turbocharger closer
Yes.
together, or sort of made it more efficiently packed. And so we'll still have a turbocharger in Formula One, just no MGUH.
We needed to increase the IC power. So that will make very tricky because the MGUH, a part of generating electricity to charge the battery, is used to avoid the turbo lag. When,
So we might see that coming back in a little bit.
A little bit. So it's going to be more difficult and more tricky for the drivers to control the power coming from the engine at the exit when they push the throttle flat out. So we will reinforce and we will see the skills of the driver trying to control that power deployment at the exit of the turns or the corners that now is held by the MGUH.
So some bits getting bigger,
No MGUH.
some bits getting smaller, some
Yes.
bits vanishing entirely. What's happening here with our control electronics?
That's not going to be a big change on Formula One. This is what control all the electrical system around the car. So we will see pretty much the same thing. A little bit increased because we have to control more power coming from the electrical side, but yeah, the hybrid side of the engine. But it's going to be more or less similar, so no big changes on
No
that.
big change there. Okay, well, we've got a little science experiment going on here. I'm thinking we're going to be talking about fuel.
Yes.
This is a lot of fuel. This is a little less fuel, quite a lot less fuel.
To understand what how efficiency will be the Formula One power units in the future, we have to go back to the 2013, where Formula One engines were using 160 kilos of fuel. That's a lot.
That is a lot. And then we reduced it down, and
Yes.
the fuel flow rate, 100 to 110 kilos a race,
That-
more or less.
More or less is the fuel that the cars are using now. But Formula One will go a step forward. The target is to go to a greener fuel.
Not actually green, but
No,
green in terms of
greener fuel,
sustainability.
yes. And the consumption go down up to the half of that 160 kilos we said before. We're going to a target of 75, 80 kilos of fuel consumption during a race with the same power, same speed, but with less fuel.
Packs a punch, this stuff. And of course, it's going to be fully sustainable
Yes.
as well. Synthetic, sort of 50% synthetic, and then coming from non-food biological sources, perhaps even municipal waste, or even just out of the atmosphere.
Yeah.
That blows my mind, but how
Exactly.
fabulous, though, that Formula One is really leading the way, and by 2026,
Carbon
fully
zero.
sustainable fuel and
CO2.
carbon zero
Yep.
in 2030. So all part of the move forward by Formula One.
Yep.
So quite a few changes. The battery. Couldn't
Yeah.
fit that
Oh.
in your hand luggage? Too
No,
much,
no room enough.
too much kit.
Yeah.
What's the difference going to be when it comes to the battery in 2026?
It's going to be bigger because obviously we have more power coming from the hybrid system, from the NGK, but also it's going to be also more sustainable. So there will be a mandatory plan for the teams to recycle everything that is every single element from the batteries.
I like the sound of that.
Yes.
And then in terms of where it's going to be positioned in the car, any changes in terms of its sort of bolting in?
We know the battery now is together with the chassis, inside the chassis, but the MGK will be part of it, so it's not only a matter of weight distribution, it's also a matter that the cars will be safer with these elements. So it's also a step forward on that.
All good things, recycling
Yes.
and safety, sustainability and efficiency. How about that for 2026? Albert,
Amazing.
thank you so much. What a fantastic tech demo.